Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us today. It's great to have you all with us. AI is one of the most talked about topics right now, but the reality is that many organisations are struggling to get actual value from it. And in most cases, the challenge isn't the AI itself or the platform or the tools of choice. It's predominantly the data that sits behind it. So many businesses are still working today with fragmented or manual loads of data. And also it's then difficult to actually trust the data without a solid foundation in place. So AI initiatives, they are quickly falling short or deliver inconsistent results. So the quick question that we're going to answer today is, how can you build, or how do you build, a data foundation that is truly ready for AI? And that's the main focus. So we'll explore how a metadata-driven approach can help organizations modernize their data environments, and also improving things like trust, scalability, and automation, while supporting not just the AI itself, but analytics and other wider business use cases for that data. So before we get started, just a couple of quick housekeeping rules of any of these webinars. Everyone is on mute just to avoid any background noise or interruption. Please do use the Q&A panel in the top right to submit any questions. We have saved a bit of time at the end of this session for the Q&A, and any questions that do come up, we'll try and cover those at any point when we've got a gap. I'd like to just take time to introduce the two speakers that I've got joining me. So we've got Tom, who's the Senior BI Consultant, Data Integration Lead at Climber. He'll open the session and sort of just set the scene around the challenges that organisations are facing when preparing the data for AI. And then Stefan has kindly joined us from Time Extender, who will demonstrate the sort of modern metadata-driven approach can help build a truly AI data-ready platform. If you could, next slide for me, Tom. So just a super quick intro about Climber. This isn't about us. Like I said, this is about building a data platform, but just for a bit of history lesson, we were founded in 2007 in Sweden. We've got offices across all of Europe and in 4 countries. We are 100 consultants strong, and we have around 400 customers in pretty much every sector you can think of. We have a managed service desk called the Expert Services Team, which manages SLAs, escalations, and things like that for when things go wrong. We offer training through the Climber Academy, which is dedicated analytics and user training, and also back-end sort of developer training, which is trainer-led. As a group, in terms of years, we've had all of our experience up across the consultants. We've got over 700 years of experience in data and analytics, which is a very impressive number to say the least. And we create around 500 bespoke data analytics solutions every year for our customers, be that a new dashboard, a data connection, or whatever it may be within that sort of BI and data landscape. So that's enough about us. Hopefully, you're joining this webinar because you know who we are already. But I'll hand over to Tom. He'll get us started.
Hey everyone, thanks to Alex, and thanks everyone for joining us. As Alex just said, I'm Tom Cottrell, the Data Integration Lead here at Climber. So before Stefan takes you deeper into Time Extender, I'm going to spend a minute or two just setting the scene for why this topic matters, especially now. So AI is moving quickly, but for many organizations, rather, the real challenge is not the data used to access it. It's the quality, structure, and manageability. It's that data foundation which drives the AI. That's a major problem. So my aim here is to frame the problem, explain why it matters, particularly for organizations already investigating Microsoft Fabric, and then we'll look at why a metadata-driven approach is such a strong fit for teams trying to build something scalable, governed, and genuinely AI-ready. So when AI initiatives stall, it's very often because the data foundation is not where it needs to be. Data could be spread across multiple systems, pipelines may have grown and fragmented over time, quality can vary, and governance often struggles to keep up with the pace of demand. That's why AI readiness is really a data question first. It's about whether your organization can ingest, transform, govern, and deliver trusted data consistently enough to support not just AI use cases, but things like analytics without creating more operational complexity every time a new requirement appears. So when we say AI-ready data foundation, what we really mean is a foundation that's reliable, well-governed, understandable, and adaptable. It needs to support change and not fight against it. Oh, sorry, did I slip a slide there? No, apologies. I think I double-clicked. So this matters especially for Microsoft Fabric customers because Fabric is already a major platform decision. So Fabric brings many of the core analytics capabilities into one place. So you have ingestion, transformation, engineering, warehousing, and so on. Microsoft already provides cloud scale data movement and data transformation services in Data Factory. So this isn't about Fabric lacking capability. The issue is what happens after the platform decision has been made. So how do you make delivery repeatable? How do you keep business rules visible? How do you standardize patterns across teams? And how do you avoid building an estate that works, but only because a few people know where all the moving parts are? So this is where many organizations start to feel the gap between having a powerful platform and having a scalable operating model around that platform. So this is where a metadata-driven approach becomes very powerful. So Time Extender's platform brings data integration, enrichment, quality, and orchestration together under a unified metadata framework. The goal is to standardize how data is built, governed, and documented and delivered across teams and environments. And in practical terms, that changes the conversation. Instead of repeatedly hand building and maintaining lots of moving parts, teams can work from a more standardized model that helps with consistency, documentation, lineage, governance, and the ability to make changes without every change turning into a mini engineering project. For organizations trying to support AI and automation as well as reporting, that kind of consistency matters a great deal. It helps create a data estate that's easier to trust and easier to scale. So why Time Extender and why now? Because Time Extender is positioning itself very clearly around this challenge, especially for Microsoft Fabric. Its Fabric messaging is that it simplifies Fabric adoption with a unified low-code platform that automates data and integration, data quality, data enrichment, and orchestration. It helps teams to move faster with more consistent and controllable data workflows. And this is not just a theoretical conversation. So from our side at Client, we see this need for a stronger and more manageable data foundation across customers, including Hotel Chocolat. And on the Time Extender side, UCC Coffee is an excellent customer example. So UCC approached Time Extender wanting a way to build its data warehouse more easily and effectively with an environment that was easier to maintain and easier to change. And they achieved that with Time Extender. So if I were to leave you with one key message, it would be this. Fabric is a strong platform decision, but a platform choice alone does not create an AI-ready data foundation. Organizations may still need more governed, more repeatable, and more scalable way to handle ingestion, transformation, quality, orchestration, and of course, change over time. And with that, I'll hand you over to Stefan.
Thanks for setting the scene excellently, Tom. I'll share my screen. Like so, and there I will. Like so. So I'll start by going deeper into what Tom has just talked about, going down into the bottlenecks that you have, whether you're on Fabric or any platform. They are different, but sort of the same. You'd get a complexity tax, whether you're on Fabric again or on any other platform. And that's what the hard work for the engineers is today. And AI, of course, is making this work even harder. There's a context needed for AI. I'll go into that in a few minutes. Obviously, we're talking about AI, we're talking about platforms and building at speed. So we need to go into a bit of a demo of this, of course. And then finishing off with why a platform of freedom comes with Time Extender. What is your next step in securing that? Thanks for joining. So again, the problem that you get with having a platform where you have your data is the management of it. You're having different areas that you need to touch upon in every piece of change that you need to do. And this is not a thing for Fabric. It's the same on any platform that you're on. And we're pushing on to do this even faster and faster because the business demands come from the users that are in Copilot or Power BI using AI or BI. They're asking for more because it's not just about being data driven anymore. It's actually getting real answers when you're chatting with your data. And the need for this data, the need from the business users, that's only going to grow. And with that comes also the need for changing what you've already built. Data sources will change, but also the need from businesses. And this is what causes the high demand on handling all these changes at speed, so to say. So naturally, we're in the AI era. We've been in that for a couple of years now, and success stories are coming out. They're being more and more all over the place, so to say. But with that comes also a lot of failed projects. And why are they failing? Well, we have fragmented data across different silos. Silos are both having data in different areas, in different storage locations, but also in the same storage, several copies, but also having the knowledge of these in different roles or in different persons, siloed everywhere, right? The semantic context is missing. If you look at data sources, they provide you with tables. The names mean nothing to regular people, and especially not the people that are sitting there chatting with the data. It doesn't give the context that you need. And there is no governed AI layer, of course. So AI is creating a speed of demand from the business users, the demand on the data that we need, we that work with data, we need to answer to that. And why is this so hard? Well, if you look at it, Fabric environment, you can look at it in 6 different layers. The layers are needed to actually bring through the data from the data sources and upwards to the actual consuming layer where the business users are. It's about getting data through, it's about cleaning data, it's about transforming data, consolidating data, and also keeping track of who can use what data. And it actually means that you have a lot of tools in here as well. You'd have some 20 plus tools. Say that you actually get a change in one of the data sources, a schema drift. You'd need 13 different manual touch points. And this is an issue. But those touch points in the different tools also means that you have different programming languages because these tools are different. They have different user interfaces, but also different programming languages. This means that you get the knowledge silos because some people will be working in some tools with some coding languages, and some people will be using other tools with other coding languages, and hence you get the knowledge silo of what happens to the data within that part and what happens to the data in the other part. You seldom share what is happening in here, and you seldom have the same people working in these areas. So just breaking this down even further, these are the actual 13 steps that you go through doing this. You can even see the programming languages that we have in here for the different tools. And look at the red box far down on the right, 4 to 8 hours, 6 different skill sets. All these different touch points have their own high risk of breaking something, meaning that you might have a pipeline that is broken, not feeding the data to the business users, updating the dashboards with incorrect numbers if that has been the case as well, where it's broken somewhere. So this is hard, of course. Fabric being a fantastic platform, needing all these updates is hard. So if you add AI to this, the schema drifts and so forth becomes really, really hard. There's a the ARR, it's not a definition. It's hard to talk to a LLM and just writing these things, because that's not a natural part of the context of a data platform. So what is the solution to this? Well, sorry, this of course first. So there's actually a new thing that's on everybody's lips when talking about data nowadays. If you will look back 2 years ago, the prompt engineering was the sort of everybody's mouth. Nowadays it's context engineering. And what that means is that we're actually adding context to the data. And the context is what the AI needs to actually mean something to the data. So if someone sits and chat to the data and says that we need the top sales from a specific business area, what does top sales actually mean? It doesn't mean anything, right? So you need to add that context to the descriptions within the data. When you add the actual natural language that the business users will use in the AI when they're talking to the data, if you add that to the data, it actually means something. Then you're connecting the business users to the data. And this is hard as well. This is not something that Time Extender actually can solve, because this means that the data people actually need to know the business users. They need to talk together to actually add this together. What Time Extender can do is bring that simplicity in there, so you could actually add business users to actually fill out this context. It's not taking or removing the data engineers, of course. It's not adding risk into the platform as well. It's just a simple user interface where you can add this context. So what is Time Extender? Well, it is a platform that handles the entire data platform. It's an abstraction layer. We're sort of removing the business logic from the data platform. We're sitting on top of it. We're starting on the left-hand side here, where we have connectors to different data sources, to easily connect to data sources and easily adjust to what data you have and bring into the raw layer, which is ingestion. We're bringing in data into one place, ready to use, one single storage, one single format. This would be the silver layer and the gold layer, where you do your consolidation, where you do your transformations and cleaning of the data. The warehousing part, or the lake housing part, right? And then, of course, you're creating that single source of truth. That's the gold layer. That's data that is consumable by the business. But you don't want to let the business into this, the gold layer. You want, because that's a lot of data in there that they shouldn't have access to. So what you do is create semantic models or data marts, which is a smaller data set of this. You can also tailor that with semantic or row level security and so forth. And then we have endpoints to actually share that to different types of business users, whether that is within BI tools like Power BI, where it's sharing data via REST API to other vendors or suppliers or something, or also we have MCP server endpoints, and I'll actually show this later on. So what Time actually does here is add everything to a metadata. We're creating metadata. So when you're connecting to the data sources, bringing data in, we're creating a repository of metadata. Then we have ready-made functionalities within these three layers. We have ready-made functionalities for incremental loading, slowly changing dimensions, consolidating everything that you need to do, right? Dragging and dropping for creating relationships and so forth. So that metadata storage repository it grows the more you build within here. That metadata repository, Time Extender uses to build on the platform that you've chosen. So if you've chosen Fabric, we're bringing in data into the one lake, zero copying when possible, and we're creating all those pipelines. We're creating all those notebooks that you need, the best practice of PySpark, everything like so is needed. But we're also doing the executions in here. So it is an end-to-end platform, and that of course means that you have one single pane of glass that you're working in, making it a lot easier for those 13 touch points that we talked about that you need to go through for a single schema drift. That's why it's handling all these things at speed. So breaking this down a little bit. First off, we have the time extender enhanced providers. We have hundreds of applications that we have ready-made providers for. We also have REST API and OData connectors and also file connectors. So the REST API is one of the most commonly used and growing in demand endpoints from data sources. So being able to connect to REST APIs in a simple way, also files in a simple way, is really important. So even here we have a REST API connector that has ready-made functionalities such as loading in of swaggers and JSON files to get the documentation of an API. All APIs are different, right? And they come often with a lot of complexity. So being able to get a head jump with a swagger is fantastic if that is available from the REST API. But then we have table flattening, we have looping and so forth. All this is ready-made with dragging and dropping and easy functionalities in our connector. But also for Fabric, we have a Dynamics 365 connector or adapter where we connect and have a zero copy into Fabric to the lakehouse into the one lake, of course. We're using an Azure Synapse link here, so the zero copying is handled expertly, and making a first copy first when you actually do something with that data, adding it to a transformation or something. Interesting thing is we even have a layer between the data sources and the raw storage, the bronze layer. We have a metadata management tool sitting in between. That is handling the metadata that is run by the metadata or handling the metadata in between here. So this is an interface where you easily can connect to a data. When you've connected to a data source, you have a lot of data, but you don't necessarily need to bring all that data into the raw storage or the bronze layer, right? So you can easily pick what data you want to bring in, jump back, add and remove whenever needed. But it also detects changes automatically. So what we do here is as mentioned, we add the metadata from loading from a data source. And the next time we load, we can compare the two versions of metadata, detecting any change. And what we can do there is also say that, okay, do we want to handle this automatically, or do we want to notify a user that something here has changed and we want to do something in here manually, right? It adds control, but it also means that you can replace these data sources without rebuilding everything in the warehouse or the lakehouse. So the logic lay in the metadata, meaning that you could migrate from an on-prem data source to a cloud data source. That's happening a lot now, without removing everything, without building new. You can simply repoint with the metadata, helping a lot. If you need to migrate the data as well, you can actually do that via time extend. Time extend has the data and it easily just point in the data to the new data source as well, and you migrate the data that way. But there's also a warehousing part, of course. So this is in Fabric, you have SQL warehouses, you have Fabric warehouse, and you have the actual lake houses. And we support those. And what we bring in here is the automation and the load code. We bring in best practice in writing the PySpark code. We bring in best practice in zero copy. We bring in best practice in execution notebooks. That means that sometimes you want to execute notebooks in parallel, sometimes you want to execute them in sequence and so forth. Time Extender also has a visual interface. I'll show you that later, which means that it's really simple to work with the data because you can see what someone else might have set up or what you yourself have set up, but a year ago, where did I set up incremental loading and how did I do that? Well, it's very visual, and it's also very visual how it's set up because it's an automated feature, right? And the visual interface also means that you can look at your data and bring in a business person and say, okay, I hear that you want to build a transformation here for your dashboard. this is the data that we have. What is it? How do you want me to build it? And you can actually have a discussion around it. Really, really good. We have advanced table transformations, field validations, history, table inserts, custom data, hash fields, chunk dimensions, and more and more and more. So we do a lot of things. We do a lot of advanced things, but there's also room for custom coding, of course. We never try to box you in just doing features and functions that are in time extender. When it comes down to the business critical things, custom coding might be the best. What time extender is trying to do here is to remove all the repetitive stuff that changes all the time and taking that away from you and securing that you can focus on this business critical code that you need to focus on. And then the consuming part, the semantic model. So the semantic model has gone to, it's gone really popular at the moment. And the reason for that is the AI. AI needs a semantic model. You want a smaller data set, as mentioned, and only for that matter, when you're using a AI and chatting to the data, the smaller the data set, the more relevant the questions will be, the less risk for hallucination you get. So the business is having problem with the vendors have not agreed on a specific format for the semantic models. So just looking at Microsoft, they have different semantic models depending on what version or technology platform you're on. Snowflake has their version and Databricks has their version. Time extender actually works across the vendors. So we actually have a unified version of this. And in this semantic models, we have row level securities, we have hierarchies, measurements, etc. We do versioning on this as well. And the key point here is that we have endpoints towards the major BI tools, towards REST API, and also an MCP server. I'll actually show that later on. With that end-to-end platform that we have, we're building from the data sources to the consuming layer. We're building that and getting a metadata from end to end. That metadata we can use to create documentation of the entire data platform, but also bring out data lineage. As you can see, we even in here have the transformations and everything. So you can actually look at a data point from a data source and look to what semantic models of those brought out to, meaning who has access to these. So if that data point is going to change, you can actually talk to the business users and say, this is going to change, how do you want me to handle that? Instead of it actually changing and someone screaming at the end of the week. So no, this is a better way of doing it. And this is actually the real version. Most metadata tools that bring out data lineage, they scan the platform and then bring these things out. Time extender builds the metadata first and then builds the platform. So this is actually the real thing. It's not a snapshot of what the platform looks like. But time extender consists of much more than this. We've talked about the data integration. We're tackling data enrichment, data quality, and orchestration as well. So I thought I'd just bring you into these as well. So orchestration, this is the execution of things, right? So each and every point here being a designed execution, bringing data into the raw or the bronze layer, then adding executions to actually make the flow of data with the transformations and everything, and bringing data out and even updating a dashboard if needed, or sharing data through the REST API. Now, what we do is add a chart or a graph like this that's designed by you, the business users or the data engineers. It's a web interface. It's meant to be able to be visually to the one that needs to see it, not only to the data engineers or to the BI people. It's meant also for the business users that may need to see that their data is updated. So say that you have the sales team sitting around a table on Monday morning deciding on what their sales tasks should be through the week, setting the goals. They need to know that their dashboard is up to date when they come in Monday morning. I mean, they could be loading Excel files. One forgot to load his file to the FTP server or whatever it is, and the other he forgot or he changed the heading of a column, meaning that the load failed. We need to know that this happened so that they can actually do something about it. The interesting thing here is that the business users themselves can actually run here. So they could actually say, well, you two guys, load your files updated to that FTP server, and then they can click here in the web interface. The data engineer has secured that the flow of data actually works, but they can start this without running to the data engineer and doing so. Getting access, of course, only to what they should be able to do here. So they cannot start anything, of course. But each point being a execution, so you would definitely see if something fails. And the interesting thing here is, as well, is that you're seeing, or you design when things should be executed. Sometimes they should be executed in parallel, sometimes by themselves. Sometimes something should be executed every 5 minutes, sometimes once a week. But it's also important to be able to design what happens when something breaks. If something breaks, everything cannot stop. Something else needs to take over. So having a real useful interface for this is also really helpful. And we have that here as an example. Another visual interface, very simple executions. As you can see down here, we're showing the error insights. These take more time than they usually do, but these are actually real failures. And what we're going to see here is that we're actually opening a log. So you can actually go in and see what is the issues here. So there's a raw log behind that the orchestration tool has access to, but the raw log, of course, contains a lot of information. We have an AI looking into this and securing what is the error, why has this occurred, but also giving actionable tips on how to move forward from this. I'll actually jump forward. And the data enrichment tool. So this is a tool that is also a web interface, easy access. It's a interface that perhaps resembles Excel. It is read and write for each user by column and by row. The key functionality is that you're getting data that needs some sort of handling before you actually can load it. So it might be that you have a situation where you have one single data set, but it's scattered over several data sources. The several data sources also have different IDs in them. So it's hard to actually connect these data into sort of a data set, consolidate them. This is something that data enrichment handles perfectly. Might also be that you have missing data or data that doesn't make real sense. You need a human eye to actually do something with it. So you can build in a natural notification for someone to go in and look. Once they've looked, perhaps updated, they can also say, check, I'm all done. It also handles hierarchies here. So you can actually build a hierarchy within from the data that you have in those various data sources. It's drag and droppable, so you can update it if you like. And talking about those salespeople, that Excel file can be loaded in here as well, of course, and then loaded into the data estate or the data platform. But they can also just drag and drop it over here, and it updates. And the good thing as well is that everything here is logged. So anyone who updates, that will be logged. What they updated will be logged. So there's a data governance part within this as well that you don't get from Excel, so to say. Then we have data quality. Data quality, everybody has issues with it, right? And then this is something that is going to grow in demand. Since people are going to use more data with AI, they're going to demand or the access to data at a higher rate than we've ever seen before. We've heard of self-service analytics before, but this comes at a different speed and a different demand as well. The top of each organization is demanding that people work with AI and do things with AI to sort of speed up everything and make decisions quicker and add AI agents, right? So what we do here is set up rules along the journey, either in the data sources or down the road. And we also set up who's responsible for each role, meaning that if something if something notifies, okay, we have a break here in this rule, we actually notify the user. So it's finance data, then this finance person would get notified, or the finance department would get notified. They would then get an email or a notification in the tool and have a link. They'd get a description of what it is, but they also get a link to that actual record within the CRM tool or wherever that is. So they actually go into the actual record and can update that specific field. If that chain is not there, the hurdle to go in and actually change and update what is wrong becomes too high. So data quality work becomes too slow. I actually thought that I'd go in and show a little bit of this because it's a very simple tool. So this is the data quality part of Time Extender. So first off, we've attached or connected to a data source. The next step is a data set. This means that you're zooming in within that data source. You're not wanting to look at everything, right? Then you have the rules, and these are really, really simple to set up. It is a very visual tool where you can simply click and add a condition. Very simple, right? But this you can work with if you are just good with data. You don't need to be a programmer. You can even get help from previewing the data, so you actually see what is the data that we have here. So we're getting the first 100 lines or something here. Didn't touch this for a bit. Oh, come on. Yeah, here we go. So in here, I could actually see that we have issues, right? And from that, I can also see what the actual names are of the fields. So I actually know what I'm going to do when I build the rule. And within here, if I look at a rule as well, I can also preview what I have built in here to see that something is actually happening. And the next step is, of course, the exceptions. So here I would get a list of the exceptions that are mine, and I can go in here and actually tackle those. What I forgot to say on this one is that you actually also, let's just click into one. You also set up the what you want to happen when a rule actually is broken. So you're saying, I want to notify this person or these groups. I want this message to be a part of the email if that's going out, and I only want to notify these if there's a new breach, or if you want to notify them every time, so to say. However, what we've added to this, I was mentioning that data is actually growing in demand, and it becomes really hard because you have more and more data, and the demand from the business of getting more and more data is growing, so to say, right? So this is the data set. I'm narrowing down the tables that I want to see from that specific data set that we've connected to. Up here, I have generate rules. If I click on that, I can let AI actually analyze this data set. So if I click here, it looks into my data and sees what issues that are available in here. We're missing values in these fields, but it is even taking it further than that. You might see patterns that you don't know are issues. So it's really intelligent. And what it does is gives you a summary of what is found. It gives you a list of recommended rules that you can apply. It also shows you the actual the data, the code that you could use to actually do this. And you can also preview the data to actually see how this affects what data is it that you find setting this rule up, so to say. You can also go back and modify that AI suggestion. What this means is that you can go in and actually type here and say exactly to the AI what it is you want to look for, narrowing down the scope that the AI is looking for. So this is really, really handy. It is handy in several ways, both in data sets, as I mentioned, that you maybe don't know what data quality you have, but maybe you have such amount of columns and so forth that it's really hard to actually set up all the rules that you need to have. So that's really handy. Jumping back to let's see here we go, to the presentation. Yeah, so again, what we are actually tackling from time extender side, we showed this before, we're actually tackling all these 4 levels, 4 first ones. We're also in a little bit in the data catalog and so forth, so, and the AI agents as well. So we're handling quite a bit, and we're removing all these 13 manual touch points, and we're removing all these 6 programming languages into one, right? And that's what makes it fast, easy, and the visuality of things means that it also is really, really simple to work with, meaning that you remove the silos, of course. One we have down here, if you have different coding languages and so forth, it becomes siloed. So if you look at the Fabric support, we do support everything within Fabric. I wouldn't say that, that's too much, but we support what's needed to actually build a data platform from the foundation. And we do that with optimized Spark coding. We do that with metadata-driven approach, where you get the data governance, the data lineage and documentations and everything, and also having the Power BI endpoint for the Fabric models and so forth. So it's a really powerful tool to use on Fabric. We have a natural tool that is naturally built for the bronze, silver, and gold layer. We've actually been doing that since 2006. So it's really good. But as mentioned, speed of everything here is the importance. And we're talking about the context, we're talking about the governance of your data platform and how that is important. All this is very important for the AI project to work. You need a platform that you can handle agilely. It needs to be able to update quick, whether that is maintenance or building new. Those two shouldn't stand against each other. You should work together. And by separating the business logic within Time Extender from the platform, you actually get that speed. Data quality, we talked about that. It's really important. You need good quality of data if people are going to access it, right? Orchestration, if data is not flowing through, it's not reaching the AI, it's not reaching the business users in the BI tools as well. So that's really important to keep track of that. Also, the data enrichment part is really important, since that is often a hinder for getting data into your data platform. But it's no fun if we're not looking at the data that we're talking about, right? And not using an AI product, an LLM, to actually do that. So I'm going to use our MCP server. So again, the MCP server comes off the semantic model. We have the different BI tools, we have the REST API files and stuff, but we also have the MCP server as an endpoint in here. So we're looking at a specific data set, and then that is actually looking into the gold layer. And the context that we're talking about is, of course, the name of the tables, it's the name of the fields, it is the relationships, the star schema, and also manual text that you add into. I'll actually talk about that when demoing this. So all this comes from the metadata layer. It's always up to date. That's really important. Let's just jump in and see what we have here, right? Going back to that, I'll lower that one. So Time Extender, we have the Solution Explorer on the left-hand side. These are my different environments that I have. So I'm having a development environment, production environment, so I can deploy from development to production. I have different Fabric and Snowflake and miscellaneous environments as well. for the simplicity of this, I've opened it up as it looks in the PowerPoint. So this is the raw layer. Then I have a combined silver and gold layer. That's not recommended for you guys, but just one layer where I do the transformations and consolidations. And then I have a semantic model, and I do have my MCP server, as well as actually a connection to my Power BI. Now we have different data sources connected. AdventureWorks, SQL, I think, and Business Central, and also a REST API easily connected. We're not going to show much about that. Looking into time extender in the lake or in the warehouse area, where you actually build and model your data, this is what it looks like. So looking at the top, we have the date. This is a simple help that you get from time extender. Always, or nearly always, when you're building something with data, you want a timeline of some sort. Time extender expertly helps you with that. So yellow things means that time extender is supporting you with knowledge. If you look at the systems field that we have down here, time extender provides you with data warehouse IDs, always. So it gives you batches when we loaded things. It gives you the source code. Where does the data come from? And also timestamp. When was this data actually added? All these things are automatically added to you to be able to do what you want. Say that you actually want to export data through the API endpoint. Then you can actually do that with incremental loading due to the timestamp that you have. So it's really simple. The black ones are added through the data sources. The red ones are something that that I have been manually or building within time extender, right? So I just simply like to share how we do this. How do you actually work within time extender? So this is my fact table. I'll simply right click, add a new field. So I want to add a new field and add a transformation to that. I'm adding a gross value field. So first off, an empty field, I'll name it to gross value. I'll need to change that into a integer and click OK. So now I have a new field down here. I simply right click again, add a field transformation, and down here add a custom value. I can add different types of things here as well, including snippets and so forth. But a custom value is what I want to add. Clicking add, and a window pops up. In here I can add my fields by just dragging and dropping. So order quantity times unit price. Now my salesperson says that a bonus is coming in end of month. They need a little bit of help. So I'm adding 10% to this. Now, one thing that you can see here is that we have brackets around these. That means that we're using parameters. So anytime order quantity is used or changed anywhere in this data platform, whether it's in a table or in a transformation like this, if I change the name, it will change everywhere, minimizing the risk for work, of course, excessive work, but it also minimizes the risk for something breaking a pipeline or so. So now it's been added, and I can easily see down here that it's visual to me. I can also, I perhaps should have shown that easier before, but we also can see all the relationships that we have in here as well. So all the relationships, everything like that is visually very available. You can see here as well, this is red. If you're colorblind, we've added an asterisk as well, not very visual, but it's red because it's been updated. So now you need to deploy and execute. What this means in reality is that we've updated the metadata, but we've not updated anything down on the actual data platform on Fabric. For that to happen, I need to deploy and execute. Just need to deploy for that to happen, and I should write added gross value. Always make a note, right? And now time extender is adjusting all the pipelines. It's adjusting all the actual everything that is needed, more or less, right? It's building code for the platform underneath. So depending on what platform you're on, it would build different code. So if this would be an on-prem SQL environment, it would be writing T-SQL. If this is Fabric, then it would be writing PySpark, right? if something breaks, you have extensive logging. You can also view logs on performance, how quickly have things executed and moved. Now, another thing with time extender, looking into the semantic model, you see in here we have hierarchies. We also use keys in here. So we're using, again, the date, and we're using the month key to actually sort the visual graph in Power BI by months instead of by the letters, right? And you can also see that we've done some role play with the date variable that we have up here. So we're doing complex things. We're bringing in also the relationships in here. So we have everything that we need. Down here, you can add calculation groups. You can add row level securities and stuff like that, right? But what happens if I want to add this to this? Well, it's a simple drag and drop, like so. Go in, drop it. Now, it gives me a new field, and this is the important context. So if you jump in, if I write here, unit times price. So if I go into Power BI, this would be a hover over text on the graph that I'm looking at. Whereas in an AI, this would be the actual text that I am using when I'm talking to the data. So this is the glue between what you're writing and the actual data. So that's why that is super important. And then I have different things here that I can sort of say this is a sum, so adding that as well. And then I simply need to deploy this as well, like so. Skipping the note for this. And there we go. So what this means, the endpoint, what it does is create a file. It creates a JSON file. This JSON file contains everything that you need. That's the context. So here we have information about relations. We have the schema. We have the context that I just added, and we also have all the names of the fields and tables and so forth. So this is the knowledge, the context that AI really needs. We have a tool that updates this. So here you actually point towards that JSON file and adds it to my AI, my LLM. So in here, it's actually added. You can see it in the middle there, right? CX sales MCP. So that means that my AI my data has been, that semantic model has been added to my AI with all that context, that metadata that you need. So in here, I can now actually text, show me my tables in my sales, like so. It simply goes through what I have in there. That's not what I want to do. I'll do a new chat. Like so. Did I turn that one off? No. There we go. So here are my actual tables that I have in here. So from now on, I can simply, you can even see it's added the gross value. So this is really important. The speed that I've added this, instead of having my data team adding something because it takes 4 to 8 hours, like we showed in the beginning, having the ability to change things this quick and then getting it out to the business users is really, really important. very, very quick demo. Let me see here if we have that. Here we go. There we go. So yeah, do things really quick. Use time extender. Instead of having 48 hours, doing 13 steps, just a few clicks to actually go through what you're doing. It is very, very helpful. And this actually brings down the velocity gap. So you don't have to choose between maintenance or building new things. It's really, really helpful for that. The last thing was the part of the freedom of the platform, right? So if you're looking at Fabric, if you've chosen Fabric and you're building on Fabric, Fabric comes out with new things all the time, which is good, right? But sometimes you want to use that. Sometimes you need to adopt to that. If you're building natively on Fabric, that would be really hard. Time Extender adds those features to the product, and you then get access to it, meaning that it's really, really simple to get to do the new stuff on Fabric. But it also means, since we have that metadata layer and we're building the code, we're building the pipelines, everything. If you're on Fabric today, you can actually move to Snowflake or the next thing that Microsoft comes out with after Fabric. Fabric's been out for what, 4 or 5 years. Fabric actually releases something big, something new at that distance. So we're actually getting close to Fabric or Microsoft coming out with something new pretty soon, but also moving to another platform. Time Extender helps you with that. Really simple. So this is how you manage your data in the AI era. Secure that you keep track of a platform that you can change and be agile on, doing things really quickly. Secure that you keep track of AI. Secure that you can orchestrate things in a great way using AI as well, right? And then data enrichment. Many organizations have too much Excel files hanging around that are very person dependent, that it's hard to change and update. Secure that you're not stuck in that. Thank you.
Off mute. Thanks, appreciate it. You've actually answered in the last slide there one of the questions that came through. Was asking that if a business changes platform or architecture, how does Time Extender help actually reduce that change?
Exactly.
Kind of on that last slide in terms of retaining the metadata, keeping that layer there separate from doing it all in the platform itself. It then enables you to be able to change from, like you say, Snowflake, and then 1 week it might be, okay, well, we need to go to Fabric, so we need to do everything in SQL, or we're going to try BigQuery next year and see if that saves us any money. You can keep all of that business logic and all of that semantic model and all of the layer and everything in the Time Extender platform, and be able to have that flexibility to change into different platforms for other things. So yeah, you've already answered that question. So
yeah, but I can add to that actually, because what I didn't say is that you can even have a hybrid platform. So you could have your Fabric environment, but you could even add an on-prem environment or a Fabric warehouse as well, because you want to do something in their what is it called, Cortex agents, right? It's really helpful. It's really powerful. So that's also a possibility.
Yeah, and also in terms of the time saving, Time Extender writes a lot of that logic that it pushes to those data warehouses. So if you are going from one platform to say Snowflake and you need SnowSQL or whatever it may be, it will do all of that new creation of the logic for you. So you're not having to therefore having to spend all that extra time building it out. So no, and I know we have gone a little bit over, so thank you for those that are still with us and hanging
Sorry
on.
about that.
And the thing is, there's so much to cover now in such a complex platform. You don't want to just breeze over some bits, because some bits are really important. So and each individual little part makes up this much bigger picture. So I think that's all we've got in terms of questions. There's no other questions that I can see. Anything for you to add, Tom, or are you all good? I think that's pretty much everything.
No, I think that was very thorough, very comprehensive.
Just encourage people to reach out, right? If they have further questions that might relate more to their situation and the problems they're facing. Everybody has their own problems, their own business problems. We're happy to help, right?
Exactly, yeah, and like you say, it doesn't have to be even data systems or data sources that are your standard rudimentary stuff. It could be a cloud-based SaaS system that we need to build a custom API for. It could be a number of different things in terms of getting access to the right data. It doesn't have to be your bread and butter stuff and your standard data sources that every customer's got. So, but yeah, no, thanks for everyone who's held on to the end, and also thank you guys for joining me today and taking part in the session. And I think we'll wrap it up there for the day. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys. All the best. Bye bye.
Bye bye.